Hello, everyone. Today I'll be talking about JSON, what it is, how we can use it with JavaScript, and why we are even talking about JSON in the first place. So JSON is kind of a format for transforming data. You can see it as basically just a string with some rules attached to it. And you'll see that in just a second. Why are we talking about JSON? Because the way that we transform or transfer data over the internet is through JSON. So, for example, if we ask some website about information about the weather, or if we want to know what time our bus is coming, or we want to know anything you could pretty much think of, there's like an API for that. And the way we talk with these APIs is with JSON. So that's like the way we get our information. And I'll show you an example of what JSON looks like here. So let's go over here. So as you can kind of see, this is just, it's literally a string. It's just a string, but it kind of looks like a JavaScript object, right? Or a JavaScript array. Can I? That went well. Yeah. So yeah, it looks just like a JavaScript array. You see, you have the open array sign here, and then we have an object, and there's some different information stored in this JSON file. So this is supposed to be users. So a user has an ID, he has a name, he has a username, he has an email, etc., etc. So this is what JSON kind of looks like. So what are some of these rules for the JSON? Yeah, I'll show you an example of another example of JSON that I write, and then we can take some of the rules. Okay, so let's make a string. So this is just a completely normal string. We call it JSON string. We could call it whatever. So let's make a open. I can't even remember what they call that. But open object character. So we could say here name. Let's not do the double quotes, but just the single quotes here. Name is Benjamin. Okay. So this is just a string that contains this. So if we, for example, if I wanted to get, for example, the name Benjamin, what you used that with JavaScript, if you had an object, was that you could do like JSON string dot name, and this would output Benjamin. But we don't have a object here. We just have a string. So if we did string dot name, what would happen, do you think? Try think about that for like a second and maybe write it down. What is this sentence gonna log out? 3, 2, 1. Yes, cool. So what is this gonna log out? Let's take a look. I have the file is here. So it's logging out undefined. Why is that? Because JSON string is just a string. So we are saying we're trying to access the key called name on a string, and JavaScript is saying like there is no key on this string called name because it's not an object. So how can we turn this into an object? We can say, then let's just say a JavaScript object equals, we can say JSON dot pass this. So now we are taking this string here, and then this pass function is kind of going through the string, and from that string creating a JavaScript object. So let's try and log that out. So we're gonna see just a completely normal object. It has the key name, and at the value at the key name, there is a string called Benjamin. Okay, so this is pretty much what JSON is. It's just a string that has some rules. So what are some of the rules, you might ask? Some of the rules are JSON names require double quotes. I think what I'm supposed to say here is keys. Oh, it is. So they require double quotes. Let's try and test that and see if that is correct. Let's try and remove this and see what happens. Okay, so now you see the JSON.pass here, it's throwing an error. Expected colon after property name in object, blah, blah, blah. That's because there's an error in our JSON. We did something wrong here. Okay, should we try and do single quotes and see what happens? Now we have a bit of a problem because we are using single quotes here. So now it's kind of, it doesn't know where it should end and start the string. So does anyone have an idea of how we can do this? And or try and write down how we can maybe get around this? Yes, we can use something called string literals. And I think we're not going to come into problems here. Let's try and log this out. The JSON string, and let's not log this out. So we have a mistake. That's because I didn't want to see this either. Okay, so this is a JSON we're creating right now, right? We are testing the rule with the double quotes. So here we have single quotes. So let's see what the pass function says. It says, oh, you still have some problems, okay? So we'll add the double quotes, and now it works again. And if we wanted the object, then we could use then we can just log it out. We're already passing it, but we can also log it out, and then we'll have the objects. So you can, this testing where we kind of tried and change something in the JSON string, and then test it like, does it work or does it not work? There's like so many tools for this online. You can go in and, what do you think we should Google? We can Google something like JSON validate. The hashtag T is because I use like another search engine. So now it comes here. Okay, so here's like a JSON formatter and validator. So let's try and test it with this one. Okay, so this should hopefully be valid. So we're happy about that. But if we did this, and here, that is actually also valid, according to this specification. But not the JSON, not this specification here. So yeah, maybe there's some of the other ones. No, it's pretty happy about the single quotes here. Okay. Anyways, if I was you, I would always use double quotes just to be sure. Like, even though this one says it's okay, there might be some other tools that says it's not, exactly like we're seeing here. So we better be kind of as strict as possible so we don't get into trouble. See here, it's not happy about that. Okay, so that was one of the rules. The other rule is that it can have no trailing commas. What in the world does that mean? It means that if we add another key, so say for example age, remember the double quotes, age, and I go, my age is 23. Not exactly. Now I don't have a comma here. Okay, this is called trailing commas, the one after the last element. So we can try and save it now and then see what it says. So now it's not happy about our JSON again because we broke one of the rules of JSON. And then the last thing that about JSON is that it can be, the data that we store can be a string, it could be a number, it could be an object, it could be an array, a boolean, or null. So if, for example, I had hobbies, then I could say maybe like fishing and swimming. Yes, let's try that. Uh-oh, we have an error. We have an error in our JSON. So now it's nice to have the validator, because I know this is a rather small JSON, but if you have a bigger JSON, it can be actually difficult to know where your error is. So let's try and use the validator and see what it's saying here. Is this valid? Okay, this is not a good validator. Let's try another one. JSON validator. Was that the one? Yeah, let's try this one. Okay, so here it's saying expected string got undefined. It's not exactly pointing the right place, but it's supposed to point here. This is supposed to be a string. So here we are supposed to have the string with the double quotes. So if we fix that here, now I would think that it's valid. No, there are still some errors. What can that be? Is it because I use single quotes here? Oh, yeah, okay, it was. So you see, this is a bit nicer because it's a bit more strict with us. So we always want to use the double quotes as a specification set. The other website was a bit too loose on that. It's nice to know when you're wrong, right? Cool. So now we know that we can store, and we know that we can store string, we can store a number, we can store an array, we can store an object, and we can store a boolean. You can play around with this yourself. Okay, so now I want you to think about, if I wanted the string fishing, how would I do that? How would I get the string fishing inside of a JavaScript variable? Fishing string equals, what would I write here? Okay, try think about that for a little bit and then write down your answer. Maybe you can pause the video if you want to. Yes, I'm just gonna wait 2 seconds. Cool, let's go. To begin with, when I have these kind of challenges, I like to figure out how our object looks like. So we take the JSON, we transform it into an object, and then it's nice just to have the object. So let's go back here and see. Oh, we still have some error. Did we not fix this? Boom, boom. Control D there for marking something and then marking the same. Yeah, that's really nice. Whoops. So we have an object. It has some different keys. We wanted the fishing. So how should we do that? We can do the object and then say .hobbies. Then we get this array here. And then we can do on the first index. So .hobbies. Now we have the array, and then we want the first item. Fishing. Nice. Okay. What if we wanted to go the other way around? So now we went from a JSON string into a JavaScript object. Now let's try and go the other way, from a JavaScript object to a JSON string. So we make a object. We say name. And I say hair color black. And let's just do that for now. Const user JSON string. There's another function called stringify, which takes an object and makes it into a string. So let's try and just give it the user here. Let's see what happens. Log this one. And let's not log out all the other things, so that's kind of not confusing us. And let's not log out this. Okay. So you see here, now this is a JSON string that we could then send off or whatever we wanted to do with it. It has the double quotes. It has the no trailing commas, right? There's no comma after this hair color black. And if we go and look at the object that I defined here, there are no double quotes here. Okay, I have a trailing comma here, but you're not allowed to in JSON. But the stringify method figures it all out. It knows how to figure that out. Okay, so now we can go from a JSON string to an object and back again. Let me just see if there is anything that I missed here that I want to talk about. Yeah, so what is the difference between a JavaScript object and a JSON file or a JSON string? So one is a JavaScript object where you can go like .name or .title or whatever. The other one is just a string that has some rules defined to it. And we can, with JSON, we can go pretty far. Like we could say, here on the third element, we're gonna store a object. That object has a key called, remember the double quotes, called hello. And that has a value of 43, 40, 34, right? And if we wanted to get this, we could just say that hobbies on the 0, 1, 2 dot hello, and that should give us what? 34. Yes. So we can store as much as we want and as deep as we want it as well. Yes, that was it. And this is kind of a typical JSON with the names. And you see here, it's like, it's an array of objects. There's like a big object there and another object here. And they represent users. So they have an address, and an address has a street. and it has a geolocation, and the geolocation has a latitude, and it has a longitude. So you see, it can be kind of nested. Yes, that was it for JSON. Thank you for listening. Bye.